So this was planned as an interactive session, and now definitely there is plenty of opportunity for each of the member of the audience to talk. But we decided to structure it so that we're first going to show a little bit of the things that are mentioned in the plenary, and then go more in depth in terms of what the tool contains, and all the time, as Justus mentioned, feel free to post questions, comments, ideas to the chat, and we will try to record them and then take them to discussion. So we had in mind 3 types of audiences when creating this tool. So the tool has its web page and has 3 tabs, and each tab is aimed at different target audience. So we have the part that was aimed for the farmers. We have one for the more with policy focus, and then final one that Justus will be demoing more in detail than what we had possibilities in the plenary session, is the sustainability tool that's aimed for the experts. But we planned this in a way that this would not be, we would not put people into the boxes so that they could not somehow access the information that is aimed for different target audience. But if there are people, say farmers, who would want to know what we were writing more in detail about the policies, they would be able to having easy access through this tool, also to list of the different policy stories that we've been developing in the project. Or if you would have some administration people working mainly with the policies, they could also just check, okay, what were the modeling results from this and that. So to somehow have some context for policy design. Yeah, so this tool is now accessible online. You should be able to land on this page by using that URL. Maybe Justus can post it on the chat if you have it there handy. And the service is now hosted on Amazon Cloud, and we have not been testing how much traffic it somehow survives, but now we have the opportunity today to check a little bit also that side, although I must say that with 2 people in the audience, I guess we're not creating a tremendous impact on the Amazon Cloud services, right? So at this point, I will switch to the actual app. So here we are. Hopefully the screen is somehow updated. We had some connection issues earlier on in the sessions that the pictures were quite poor quality, but I think now hopefully that we have just few people and not 160, things get reasonably well updated and shown with at least some kind of resolution. So this is for the first target audience, which is the farmers and maybe to some degree the consumers, as well as a list of map items for our case studies. So the polygons here, I didn't have time to explain in the previous session, are the kind of nut-free areas where we had case farms participating in the case studies, and the points represent here a farm that are participating in the project case studies. And we have not listed here all possible farms because mainly concerns of the data protection, and not all of the farms were that were part of the UNISECO were so eager actually in participating in this. So this is more of the subsample of the more active farms that were part of the story. So here we have the small attribute box, which then links into the story. For example, here is the Finnish story, and it's actually the policy story for some reason here. Great. Maybe I just click the case study link for you. Let's check if I can find an actual farm story here. Yes, this one's one that I showed earlier, and here we have the farmer focus in the story that we are telling. It is not, of course, only a story about some farmer, but it's connected to the agro-ecological practices that they are interested in, and the solutions they are interested in exploring on that farm. And it connects then also in that case to the wider UNISECO case study of Sweden. So for the case studies, these polygons, I created a little bit of different type of attribute information, tells about the research question, and also links to the UNISECO web pages currently of that, and some additional information. And so you would just land to the agro-ecological knowledge hub and the case study description here, which is still not quite the same in some cases, at least as the story map content. So yeah, so a good story does not need to be based on science. So these farm stories should be as well written from the perspective of being good stories as possible, but they should also link into evidence in case there are people who question some things in the story. So the idea is that we link in that story then to scientific outputs of the project. But then moving on to the another type of target audience. So this one I decided to represent just with the country polygons. Currently there are not that many of the stories, and I was thinking that rather than pinpointing any specific area from the country, this would refer to rather the whole national level, because that's the level for the policies. So if I would click here from Finland, I would again have an attribute box, and here a link to another story. Let's see actually if this one, yeah, so it seems that I just mixed up my links between the two types of stories here for the Finnish case study that I also been involved in creating, and this seems to be loading now rather slowly, so I probably should be still editing that story to make sure that it works as it should. So these are the two target audiences that I refer to in the story format, and the third one is arranged a little bit differently because it's based on more of the scenarios and quantitative data instead of kind of qualitative narrative storylines that would be a little bit just supplemented by some graphs and figures, while the focus in the third type of stories for the numerical data and interactive abilities with that. But as we planned, we would first collect before showing the third one, we would first collect some ideas or questions and comments concerning this farm specific or farm target audience stories, as well as the policy stories, before moving on to explaining the sustainability tool. So at this point, I should ask if we have gotten any comments or questions so far, or should we already continue to the sustainability tool, which I let Justas take over with.
Yeah, there was one remark from Chris that the stories load for him also slowly, so we should investigate that because it worked kind of fine for me before. So, but then Chris or Larissa, if you have any, yeah. So Chris is asking at this moment, what is this a tool?
Yeah, it's a tool for disseminating information and sharing it. It's a tool in the sense that it's facilitating the farmers to create their own story maps, or the local community farm advisors to create story maps. So we've not created the kind of script base for publishing the data in the form of the story. We are here applying the kind of S3 tool and as you wish, popularizing it. And we've had some success in some case studies where people were interested in this on a kind of local level, even like broader than the scope of the UNISECO project, and while others, it was quite clearly the kind of quite researcher-led process.
Entered directly to the sustainability tool. So here how it looks. So this is the primary view you get when you enter. So the tool itself, it's built in a S3 environment, in a dashboard environment, as you see. So we have the primary view is the map, and then we have these dashboards, which are complemented by widgets. So the idea here is to present sort of the technicalities and practicalities of these widgets, and to show what can be achieved by them. So yeah, I will start then simply. I know how familiar people here are with the S3 environment, but of course these are the default things for zooming out, and so on. And then here we have the layer list of the data inside the tool. So for now, there's a lot layers, and the main data here is coming from the UNISECO project, from the territorial assessment modeling. So we have some indicators from that modeling. For example, greenhouse gases or total crop yield on country and NUTS2 level for different years, for 2012, 230, and 250. So it's modeling the future, so to say. So this is the capability for the layers, to see the layers and to turn them on and to turn them off. Also, we have the select widget, so you can select the data in the map. We'll get back to this later. Then on the bottom part, we have the so-called Gouge widgets, which are interactive with the working on the map. So if I move around the map, you can see that the numbers are changing. And for the moment, for example, it is showing the greenhouse gas indicator. So it's calculating on the fly the numbers of the map, of the extent of the map, and it's also configured that way that you can see if it's rising above 5,000. So it's getting a different color and sort of signaling you that we're over the limits. So this can be also kind of predefined by the scenarios or by the targets we are seeking as European Union or as the world on the whole. So this can be probably a nice place where you can summarize the information from different data and different indicators. So if you attended the territorial assessment plenary session where it was explained, it was also said that there are several scenarios built in, modeled. So the BAU means the business as usual, for example, and the LAE means local agroecology food systems. So we can turn also to the other scenario and get see how the numbers differ. So this is the work, the so-called working with the Gouge widget. You get the numbers on the fly. And you can also, of course, select some layers which you want to work with. So I will select some on the greenhouse gases. And you can also, for example, select one country. And you can see that then the gouges also work with that particular spot you clicked on. So for example, yeah, I forgot, sorry, to introduce myself. I'm Justas Gulbinas from Baltic Environmental Forum from Lithuania. So this is Lithuania, and you can see the numbers. So for example, if we go to the business as usual, you can see that by the year 2050, if we stay to this scenario, there's almost twice the rise in greenhouse gases emitted by Lithuania. But then if we switch to the other scenario, which concentrates on agro-ecological systems, you can see that there's a slight decrease in 2030, and by 2050 we would go stop emitting the greenhouse gases and minimizing our impact. So this is how the Gouge widget works. Also, we have the timeline widget. So I will turn off the layers, and we can see. So it's just the timeline widget. It's just a simple one to show on the map also how the situation changes in the territories. And yeah, so now it's loading, probably because we're streaming the video quite slowly, but so you can see also these three different scenarios, how they change, how the territorial view changes. And yeah, you can see that in 2050 most of the Europe goes white, so you have the legend here, and you can see that it's we have a decrease in the greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, so this is then for the time slider. I will turn it off now and turn my camera off, so maybe the stream would be better. Next, moving on, it's we have another widget called the charts. So here we can also work around with the data in another type. So for example, let's take the crop yield on the country level. You can either calculate for the chart from what you see on the map, or you can also select a specific country. So let's select France, for example, and we get the results from France. And also you can see that there's also now integrated both scenarios, so we can also make a scenario on the other. Make a chart on the other scenario, and by this we can also compare the scenarios by the chart mode and see how the results differ, and we can instantly see that again in the business as usual scenario the crop yield it's getting bigger by each reference year, but in the local agroecology food system scenario, so the yields would decrease. But then, so if you remember about the greenhouse gases, it's the opposite. So this is how you can work with the charts, and there are now different indicators also integrated. So you can work with that. Practicalities, and also a few other widgets that we have now is the so-called group filter. So I will need to turn on some layers also. So for example, we have now the greenhouse gas emissions for countries for year 2012. So we can maybe go out to the world view. And as you can see, yes, so now we have the world view, how it looks in the world. And by using that widget, we can, for example, apply a criteria that we want to select countries that are emitting less than 30 megatons of CO2 equivalent. So we sort of refine our search, and then we have another widget called the info summary, and again it's also connected, and we then have a quick list of the filtering we did. So now we have 101 country that has greenhouse gas emissions lower than 30 megatons CO2 equivalent, and we have this list, we have the coloring, we have the number. So it's not there yet implemented, but also it could be one of the options that this information can be exported as a report. So for such quick working with such data, you can make your own filtering and get kind of a report out for the purposes of further working on it. Also, there's other possibilities of this summarizing. So you can have just other grouping. So just you have to wait for the layers to go in. Excuse me, not those layers. Yep. Okay, this one. Yep. So this can be then also summarized not only by country but also by different years. So we have results in different years. and different scenarios then, and we can see the same information but from different angles. So yeah, so this is the kind of situation we have for now. It should be more refined, of course. We will work over the next month over this. We will have probably more data, and the idea was not only have the UNISECO scenario data, but also other data packages which would add on to the possible analysis of all the situation. And yes, so Jana, do you have something to add to what I already said?
Thank you, Justus. That was very nice tour of the different features and some of the data that we have in the tool right now. Maybe I would just highlight that we have now utilized few things that the territorial models produced in UNISECO. Not quite everything yet that was produced by these models is in the tool. And so there will be some things that we already have uploaded to the global biodiversity portal by the WWF, but not all of it was yet shown here. And as Justus mentioned, the idea here is that the tool would not limit to some model runs done in UNISECO, but if WWF or so people having access to the tool would want to add to it is technically not particularly difficult using this ArcGIS online environment that this build is implemented in.
Yes, so Jana, do you see the chat box?
I do. Chris is asking about the audience, and this as I explained in the intro is aimed at experts. So people who are interested in analyzing the model results have some capacity for using already system like this. This part of the tool is not aimed particularly for farmers. Nothing's preventing from farmers from checking out what would be there, but yeah, for farmers we had the other communicating channels in mind.
Yeah, if I can add, then probably it looks from the first view kind of difficult to work with, but I mean you probably need just a little bit practice, and of course we are going to make some kind of a manual, so to say, or more instructions what each widget do and what you can do with it and how can you work with it. But I would imagine that yes, it's for the experts more, but also probably this could be used by an expert to show to the policy people the results and present the results and on a fly sort of to tell another story, presenting different scenarios or different directions, how different, for example, agroecological practices can impact the results of greenhouse gases or other indicators, and it could be probably an input to the policy development also. So because viewing the results on the map always tells you more than just giving the numbers. So.
Yep, that's right. So Chris was asking about the data sources. So now this is, as I explained, mainly based on that models, and the model runs from the territorial models. So we are kind of been limited in some things to those models and what's available from that modeling. But I just wanted to highlight, as I did, that by design this tool itself is not limited to that. There's possibility to add different types of data from different sources, and if there is somebody interested in the kind of modeling community to, for example, present their results in an interactive manner to compare with some other models, because there's always uncertainties in model results, to compare between the models, for example, this platform is kind of giving quite quick access to that kind of capacity compared to if you would have to start this process from the very beginning of thinking, okay, how do I do interactive map and so on. So by getting in touch with me, Justas, or in future, I guess, WWF, to explore the possibilities, I think that was the plan, of course. Yeah, that's not only in the hands of the people in the UNISECO project, but depends if this actually produces enough value added for people or not. And yeah.
Yeah, and then there was another comment by Chris that if the stories are aimed at farmers and the sustainability tool at experts, yeah, why to put them on the same platform? And Chris found the stories beautiful, but a bit hidden by the map platform. And I guess my initial answer is that it's a great remark, and probably looking now from a distance, they are maybe a bit hidden, and we should think how to put them out more visibly. I don't know if we can just do it in the same platform, but it would be good probably to have them somehow out more visible. But then, yeah, Jana, you can maybe add on about the whole platform thing.
Yeah. Well, the idea there was that if you want to support your story with science-based evidence, it would be maybe easier to link within the same kind of platform two different sources. Now that I'm been through this process in UNISECO, I am not sure how easy we would actually access any particular map view, so that we could directly link to the kind of scenario run that is showing, okay, we are dealing with this type of solution or this type of barrier based on the data that you can see on the map. But in principle, that should be possible, and was the kind of idea for having these together. In terms of visualizing the maps or the story maps more, that attribute boxes are the way of linking extra information. The map symbols, of course, representing a particular farm could be changed into more appealing ones that would already show something about the story map. The problem is that if we would in the end accumulate a lot of farmers, it is better for drawing speeds of the system to have fairly simple symbol instead of something that is immediately taking longer to load, plus the linking of the point so that it directly would link without showing the attribute box first. I don't think that is actually possible without starting to customize this web pages much more than the kind of out of the box version that is working for all the other of this target audiences, except of the SESSIT tool. The SESSIT tool is on a kind of custom built thing, and there you can more easily customize things, but the other ones are kind of basic template structures that's set by Esri and cannot be as easily as manipulated to somehow look different.